Good afternoon. This Township of Selwyn regular council meeting of Tuesday, October the 24th, 2023 will come to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Let's please observe a moment of silence so the council staff and members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Thank you. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest of the general nature thereof? Seeing none, please note that in the minutes. And we have our minutes of October the 10th, 2023. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black. All in favor? That's carried. Is there any discussion out of the minutes? Seeing none. Do we have our deputation here online? So our first deputation is Brian Teffy of Strategy Corp, who's going to be talking to us about the Peterborough Police Service. Right.
So can you hear me okay?
Okay. Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me today. My name is Brian Teffy from Strategy Corp. We are working with the Peterborough Police Service Board to develop their next strategic plan for 2024 to 2027. So I have a brief presentation just about the approach we're taking on the strategic plan, the specific intricacies of a strategic plan for a police service board. I'm going to try and quickly take you through that presentation, and then I will leave some time for questions and discussions of next steps. So I'm going to share my screen there. If you want to, this is a great setup because now I can see that my screen is being shared on there. So I really appreciate your setup here. Thank you so much. And just a little bit about Strategy Corp, maybe before I start. We're a strategic advisory government relations firm based out of Toronto, do a lot of work in the municipal sector from Windsor to Ottawa, do strategic plans, service delivery reviews, other work like that. We have developed some expertise in the community safety space, working on some strategic plans for police service boards, community safety and well-being plans, and other projects like that. So that's sort of the expertise we bring to it. And really our goal is to help just shepherd through the police service and the police service board through the process, help them identify those key strategic items that will help prioritize initiatives for the next few years. So I'll just quickly move through the slides here. Oh, sorry, there we go. So project context, I outlined a little bit already. The Police Service Board's current strategic plan coming to an end this year. Their priorities were focused on community safety and well-being, improved digital capacity, physical infrastructure for effective service delivery, policy and audit support, and organizational wellness. They done a lot of made a lot of progress on some of those priorities. They have a new chief, some new board members, and looking to sort of take the service to the next level given community expectations and the needs of the community. So we've developed a robust consultation plan, which this meeting is part of. We're currently going through and meeting with and engaging with a number of stakeholders. beginning the process of identifying those strategic priorities. And then our next final step there will be to prioritize those goals and objectives with the board and the police service. As you know, we're focused really on this vision and strategy piece. The end of the day, it has to be tied to those budgets and implementation decisions that staff and the police service will be tasked with, and the service will bring back performance metrics to the board to report on progress over the course of the plan. Specifically around policing, strong governance is critical, in particular in your situation here in Selwyn as a contracted municipality with the Peterborough Police Service. Good communication, good reporting, and management will help make sure the plan is effective, tying it into the community safety and well-being plans and community need and input on public safety. Just a little bit about what we try and think of and provide advice to our clients as we go through the strategic planning process. We want it to be strategic. It's not an operating plan. That's not the task we have. This plan will help inform and prioritize those operating plans for various initiatives. Has to be authentic to the community, and in this case, the communities that the organization is serving. Needs to be implemented. It needs to be tied to reality, to those budget approvals that you have, and the other, the other realities on the ground. Has to have actionable specifics that you can check off and help work with staff through the process of implementing. And it has to have the confidence of key stakeholders, which I think right now, coming out of COVID with various public safety challenges, the homeless and mental health challenge, road safety, other things like that, really important to make sure that various partners in the community have that confidence in the process. We're getting input obviously from the board and the service, the two contracted communities, Cavan Monaghan and Selwyn for the Lakefield side, as well as a number of different service providers, the schools and colleges and universities in Peterborough and surrounding area, the healthcare sector, and others that feed into the process. Specifically, just want to note this slide. There's specific requirements in the Community Safety and Policing Act that must be in a police board strategic plan. And I should note there's new legislation from the province coming into force, expected to come into force in 2024. So these rules and requirements may shift a little bit. So we'll have to be nimble as we're finalizing this plan and monitor any updates and news from the province. But you need to provide adequate and effective policing in accordance with the needs of your area. You need to make sure that people are clear on the objectives, core functions of the police service, identify key indicators so that the public can track how we are doing in terms of solving crime, victim outcomes and support, interactions with select populations that may need that additional support from the police, and then showing strategic priorities relating to infrastructure, which is important, and personnel. Police officers are on the ground. They're coming to calls when people are in need, and they take up a significant amount, as they should, of the police budget in all the police services across the province. So basically, where we are now, we're in the midst of our consultation and engagement. There is a public survey that is available online on the Peterborough Police website. I'll share that with you after this meeting to feel free to respond yourselves, but share with community members any email lists that you have in your networks to make sure we collect as much feedback as we can. We're going to be going back to the police service and the board and developing key pillars and then a list of objectives under each pillar for the board to approve and give direction to the police service. And then as a final step of the developing the plan, we'll be working with the police service to identify actions and performance metrics that the police service will undertake to meet those board objectives. And it's important to remember it's a little different, not much, but a little different compared to a municipality in terms of the role of the oversight board and the service. You cannot direct the police chief as a board member. You have to set the policies, and then the police chief and the service are responsible for implementing those in accordance with the law and fair practices. So, you know, it's not, you have a similar approach, I think, in the municipality, but, you know, with public safety matters, obviously that division of duties is very important. Just a quick note on timing. We're hoping to finish this, on track to finish this by end of the Q1 of 2024, February or March. We're at that green bucket now with the community and external stakeholder engagement, and we're going to be going to the board. I believe it's the next board meeting with an initial discussion of the pillars and the goals. And then we have, as you see, a bit of a back and forth process where we engage with the service and the board to finalize and bring together that final plan. So everything's really on track, getting lots of good information, getting a good sense of what the priorities might be, and working through to finalize those, crystallize those with the board and the service. That's really the sort of process we're going through right now. What I think is really important for this time I have with you is to hear your feedback. I've identified 5 questions up here to sort of help sort of ground some of your input. As I mentioned, we also have the public survey, and what I will do after today's session is send a list of questions directly to you as well. If there's any feedback you want to provide in writing after the fact, we're happy to receive that and integrate that into our process to make sure needs of your community are heard. So I have my notes up here to take notes on comments, and I know we also have the recording I can circle back to as well, but I'll pause there, just leave it open to any feedback on key areas of importance for public safety in your community, or any questions on the process as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have a timeline on these questions and answers getting back to you, Brian?
We would appreciate them back by November 6th. That's the date the public survey is ending. So that would be great and allow us to really integrate them into our processes. The earlier, the better, I would say. And, you know, things arise. So if there's feedback that comes to you at a later date and you think it's important for us to know, you know, feel free to send us a note, send a note to the police service board, and we will integrate it as best we can given wherever we are at in the process. But November 6th would be great.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I'll open it to council. Councillor Boyka.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that presentation. I am not just the Lakefield Ward Councillor, but also the Lakefield Liaison on the Peterborough Police Board. So I come to you with those 2 hats on. I was happy to attend a presentation from Chief Betts lately when he detailed information regarding budgetary and other challenges that are currently facing the Peterborough Police Board. And part of the data that he shared was a survey in which he said that the primary concern of the people of Peterborough was safety. And you mentioned safety in your presentation and the community and safety well-being report that someone has signed on to. I'd like to offer a supposition that the people of Lakefield are not much different than the people of Peterborough. And so we can assume that safety is among their primary concerns as well. So let us assume, therefore, the people of Lakefield would like to be safe. And you asked for input. Here's my input. They would like their property to be safe, and those who might illegally enter their homes or cars and rob them of that property. They would like to enjoy their homes safe from those.
Move back a bit.
Oh.
You're
Sorry. They would like to enjoy their homes.
still too close. You're
Still too
getting
close?
feedback, yeah.
How's this?
Yep.
Okay. They would, sorry, that's me as a singer. I'm used to doing that. People would like to enjoy their homes safe from those whose illegal noise and activities might rob them of that enjoyment. They would like to feel safe on the streets, safe from those who ignore the rules of the road with illegal speed or illegal parking or illegal turns. They would like their children and grandchildren to be safe in the schools, safe from the actions of those who threaten their well-being and rob them of their ability to have fun or to learn. And they would like their community to be safe from vandals who spoil the beauty of our village and leave them feeling threatened. So to do what it can to address safety concerns, the police, as you know, and as we discuss at the police board often, is they must react quickly to calls. They should not just be a uniform in a car, but they must be known to the village and they must be present. So given all that, I have two questions to submit to you and through you to the strategic planning process. First, current, and second, future within the life of this strategic plan that you're developing. So first, current. There are currently surprisingly few frontline officers on the streets on any given day. And sometimes emergencies necessitate officers from being called from the patrol area to address a particular emergency. So with that said, my question, are current staffing levels in Peterborough, Cavan, Monaghan, and Lakefield such that officers can address safety concerns in the village by being present in the village, being able to react quickly to calls in Lakefield, and to be able to become known in Lakefield? That's current. Now, moving forward, my second question. I'm still echoing. Oh, it's coming through yours. If you can mute your computer, maybe everybody can hear me better. How's that?
Yeah, it's echoing backwards.
It wasn't me. Okay. Yeah. My second question, Lakefield is growing and poised to grow more. Infilling in the present village will continue. Plus, the process to begin the new Lakefield South subdivision is progressing. And it will begin within the life of this strategic plan. So when complete, Lakefield South will add nearly 1,000 homes to the village. So with that said, my second question then is the Peterborough Police Service planning for Lakefield's growth with an assessment as to whether to provide adequate and effective staffing, those staffing levels will need to increase? So those are my points and my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to comment on any of that, Brian?
No, I think I appreciate those questions, and I can say on the first one that that's sort of the overarching focus of this plan is how they can continue and strengthen those staffing levels and get to incidents quickly and have that time to do that community policing and be proactive to understand the communities better. So a lot of the goals and initiatives will be tied to that. And then in terms of the Lakefield is growing piece, I think that's really important note that I've taken down here because that will change the needs and that will change some of the way that Peterborough Police may have to consider supporting your public safety needs. So I think that piece is really important. So thank you.
Thank you. And I have Deputy Mayor Black.
Thanks for the presentation, Brian. Very good outline of the consulting work you're doing. A couple of just straightforward questions around the project objectives in page 2. It says effectively engage internal and external stakeholders in 3 districts to understand their perspective on community safety and policing in Peterborough. I'm sure you mean all 3 districts. I know you wouldn't ask people in Lakefield about Peterborough.
Definitely all 3 districts. And I think a lot of community members go, utilize the benefits of both communities in their day-to-day life. So yeah, all three communities for sure.
Okay. And then on page 5, within the principles of creating an effective strategic plan, item 2 is a plan that is authentic to the community. Will there be specific sections on Lakefield and Cavan Monaghan with objectives and plans for those communities, specific to those communities, or will it all be lumped into one presentation or one set of strategic goals and objectives?
There will be one plan. The plan is for the police service board. So it's for the board. And I think in terms of specific goals or sort of or initiatives for the contract communities, I think that's an interesting point. I'm going to take that back. And I think, if there's specific things that we think and that you think makes sense to have in the plan, I think, think about that. Send me any ideas. I think the police board and service may have some ideas as well. And there very well could be specific initiatives, but that'll be up to the board's decision making process as we go through this project.
And follow up through Mayor Sanders. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I, certainly appreciate Councillor Boyko's comments around safety and all those issues that are in Lakefield, but they are different communities. And clearly Peterborough has a number of higher level objectives in the homelessness and areas of addiction and so on. But I certainly would like to see something more specific to Lakefield. Often when the county is involved in these types of consultations, it gets city centric. And I would like to see something if possible. And it's a board decision, obviously. I think there would be value in having something more specific to Lakefield and Cavan Monaghan if they want it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that feedback, and I'll take that back, and we will work towards that plan with that in mind. Thank you.
All right, and I don't see any other questions, so I'd like a motion, please, to receive the presentation. It's moved by Councillor Boyko and seconded by Councillor Henry. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. All right, we're a little early for the public meeting. So, Madam Clerk, were there any questions that were presented?
No questions.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to Brianna Guiotto. I'm sorry, I'm saying your name wrong. Guiotto. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Who's going to talk about 12 Queen Street.
Okay. So I would like to recommend that this report be received regarding the lease with the Peterborough and Kawartha Chamber of Commerce and the future use of 12 Queen Street, Lakefield, to be received for information. A little bit of history regarding 12 Queen Street and the Chamber. The Peterborough and Kawartha Chamber of Commerce and Tourism and the township have a long-standing relationship dating back to May 2005 in terms of tenancy at 12 Queen Street. The chamber has been the primary tenant, and this allowed the township to maximize underutilized municipal space, and it provided access to the chamber to use the space for presence in the community. This has been proved to be a mutually beneficial relationship for both parties, and the chamber has been an ideal tenant in Lakefield's downtown core. When initially considering renovations for 12 Queen Street, it was understood and agreed that the chamber would continue as the primary tenant and that the renovations would be done in consideration of the chamber's usage. We alternatively moved some of their belongings to Memorial Hall. We have some things stored in the basement. Staff have been advised that the needs of the chamber have evolved, and a physical presence as the anchor tenant at 12 Queen Street is no longer makes sense for their current business model. They have advised that they plan to maintain a presence at 12 Queen Street, but will likely only need one office or a smaller space than initially agreed upon. In a meeting on October 3rd, the township and the chamber agreed that the next best steps would be a termination of the current lease. And it has since been decided that a 30-day notice period for both parties would make the most sense in terms of a mutually beneficial outcome. The chamber is seeking a new lease for a smaller space and to maintain their presence at 12 Queen Street in Lakefield. Both the township and chamber wish to come to a new agreement that is mutually beneficial when determining the requirements for the new space and rental agreement. Given that the chamber no longer has plans to maintain a larger service presence at 12 Queen Street, staff are proposing that the township assume management of the space and rentals at 12 Queen Street to ensure the needs of the stakeholders, local businesses, and entrepreneurs are supported through the efforts of a business hub in the community. 12 Queen Street has approximately 3,800 square feet of leasable premises, which can be rented by floor or office space. And then the basement is additional space that could be utilized as storage or potential storage rental space as well. It is proposed that the first year in which the township assumes management of the space, we establish baseline expenses to forecast future costing models. It is proposed that the economic development coordinator will manage the space inquiries and initial contacts with potential tenants. And that the economic development coordinator, myself, will market the space as follows, reaching out to interested parties who have previously expressed interest to the chamber. Both e-newsletter and business e-newsletter, social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and otherwise, and sharing out to all of the small business communities. It's proposed that rental rates would be determined by staff and be comparable to standard market rate for commercial spaces, as well as comparable to the township's current meeting room rates, for example, the River Den. Based on forecasting and known expenses, it is estimated that the expenses at 12 Queen Street will be approximately $15,000 to $25,000 annually. These estimated costs will vary depending on occupancy, maintenance costs, and other determinable factors to be determined. In addition to meeting the needs of the stakeholders and small businesses, assuming management of 12 Queen Street would ensure the building remains a local community centerpiece with access to public washrooms and a continued effort to support the needs of our local economy. The building at 12 Queen Street was formerly a post office, and when renovations were happening, the original post office sign was uncovered. And it's also proposed that the building assume its original name and be referred to as the old post office. And we could market the building with this name, retaining the original sign that's located above the main door, and investigate new signage to install at the location with a new name highlighted. So as mentioned, the financial impact expenses are estimated to be between $15,000 and $25,000. The goal in the first year is to attract tenants to the space and at least cover operating costs. Based on preliminary forecasting models conducted by staff, we estimate that the building will require a 50% occupancy during the first year to cover these estimated expenses. Once baseline expenses are established after the 1 year period, the staff will revisit financial forecasts of the space, and at this time, a report will be provided to council with year-to-date expenses and revenue forecast. Based off of all of this information, it is recommended that the Township of Selwyn provide notice to terminate the current lease agreement with the Peterborough Kawartha Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber, effective November 30th, 2023, and that the staff be authorized to execute a mutual termination agreement and execute a new mutually beneficial lease commencing December 1st, 2023. That the township assume tenancy management of 12 Queen Street for business and entrepreneurs, and that the staff be authorized to execute lease agreements for 1 year or less with the potential tenants of 12 Queen Street based on estimated annual operating costs, and that the building assume its original name to be referred to as the old post office.
Thank you. All right, before I pass it on to members of council, in 2021 in the council communicator, I wrote that the Kawartha Chamber and the Peterborough Chamber were consolidating to put forward a stronger voice. And I had hoped at that time that our local identity wouldn't be lost in the process. Unfortunately, this seems to be the case, as the chamber is slowly disappearing from the rural area of our Kawarthas. It's very unfortunate that for our local businesses and for our community that's going in this direction. I feel very sad about it. And I'm a little upset that we're being put in the position that now we're going to have to handle something that we thought was going to be looked after by the Kawartha Chamber or the Peterborough Chamber. What does the zoning allow in that building?
The zoning is local commercial for C2, which is many different commercial uses, including auction room, bakery shop, financial establishments, professional and administrative offices, like it was designed for use, club, commercial, private, coin-operated laundry facility, commercial coffee center, and the list goes on to a few other commercial entities. But the office has been primarily designed as an office space, so that's what we would prefer to keep its intended use for.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to council. Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sanas. The historical significance of the old post office is notable. However, I think that we should also take a look that in 1870, Lakefield business owners came together and called themselves the Queen Street Merchants Association, the first form of the present day Chamber of Commerce here within Peterborough County. It would be this unofficial chamber, the Queen Street Merchants Association, with the help of local families, who would make a motion to incorporate into an official village with the Register General Office in Toronto. In doing so, the First Village Council and the Queen Street Merchants Association would both act as chambers of commerce to some degree, working together. This continued on until 1947, when the Lakefield and District Chamber of Commerce was formed and operated under that name until 1998. Since then, it's been rebranded, I don't know how many times. And with this number of reincarnations, its many members and its purpose was to focus on tourism in the Kawarthas. I'm aware that nostalgia is not what it used to be, but to back out of Lakefield with its history and large business community, which has endured and continues to recover from the impact of COVID and the challenges of our present day economy, is not good business, or should I say good commerce. I hope this does not become a case of taxation without representation for our business community. I do have a question: is how much money was spent by the ratepayers of Selwyn to renovate the old post office to accommodate the needs of the chamber, and how am I to explain these expenditures to our residents when asked?
We could provide a further analysis on that. We did get a grant to renovate the building, but certainly the overall cost to renovate it were significantly higher than the grant. And we did definitely customize the space to accommodate the chamber based on their input of how they were going to use the space. We didn't provide that analysis in this report, but we can certainly get that information for you.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing it.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Boyko.
I share Councillor Henry's disappointment, Mayor, and through you, I share your disappointment as well in this decision from the chamber. I was aghast last summer when someone asked me about gathering information about the things to do in Lakefield, and I asked them to go to the chamber office that was temporarily in the library building, and they went and they saw me later on, and they said they don't have anything there. They told me to go to Peterborough. That's the service that the chamber is providing in Lakefield. And that adds, this latest decision adds to my disappointment with the current chamber and their decision making. A couple of questions that I will just simply leave and don't expect an answer now is perhaps retail space might be brought in. perhaps a township staff that I know is bursting at the seams in this building could expand out, and we could have another office in Lakefield. Perhaps the police office that I know they say is adequate, but I know is cramped, could be invited back. The police, after all, when the village had a police, were there for a long time. And after the Peterborough Police took over policing in Lakefield, they had an office there as well. So there are alternatives to continuing with the chamber. I don't expect an answer, simply comments for your thoughts going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through Mayor Sendis. Yeah, I mean, I echo all the concerns of the folks around the table here, that it's a big disappointment. I'm not sure it's a surprise to me, given the impact COVID has had on businesses, and the chamber having to obviously downsize, with the support that they were getting. But it's unfortunate timing. It appears that a lot of the space has been designed for them. My question is really, are the other floors above just open spaces that can be renovated to somebody else's use, or is it all finished inside now? It's not waiting for somebody to sign up and say we need this and that.
No, it's been finished with interior renovations on both levels. So the upstairs does have some office space. There is a boardroom that we wanted to maintain that could be used for anybody in the community, for that matter, or the tenants in the space. There's also a bit of a kitchenette up there that would be available to the tenants upstairs. On the main level, there's certainly office space, and the office space was designed around kind of how we thought the chamber would operate there. There is a bit of a kitchenette there as well. And then a big component too is maintaining some kind of open space when you came into the main building, so that would be available for public washrooms, which is very important to folks visiting the downtown.
Right. So basically it's office space. There's no opportunity for retail or dining.
No,
or
it would be
anything like that.
really,
It would have to be torn out again,
Yeah.
which isn't.
No, we
practical.
just put the paint's not even dry. There you go.
I hear you. Well, it's an unfortunate situation, but we'll have to work through it, obviously. Thank you.
So I don't see any other questions. We do have a recommendation in front of us. Despite our disappointment, we have to move forward. So can I have someone please move the recommendation? Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councillor Koulis. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. And now we will move into our public meeting. And this is for a zoning bylaw amendment for part lot 12, concession 4 in the Ennismore ward for 899 Settlers Trail. Can the planner please announce the purpose of this meeting?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Township of Selwyn is holding a public meeting to consider an application to amend the zoning bylaw for the Township of Selwyn in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. The prescribed notice of public meeting was provided by prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 120-meter radius of the property subject to the application, as well as by a sign posted on the property. The notice was provided by email to the prescribed ministries and agencies. The notice was also available on the township's website. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Selwyn before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of Selwyn to the Ontario Land Tribunal, nor can a person or public body be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. As the worship mentioned, this is for part lot 12, concession 4 in the Ennismore ward, 899 Settlers Trail. It's a zoning bylaw amendment related to a consent application with the County of Peterborough under file number B62-23. The subject property is a waterfront property. It's being split into 2 lots. The severed parcel is being rezoned to rural residential exception 603. This special exception zone will recognize a reduced lot frontage and area, as well as reduced requirement for side yard setback to 3 meters down from the regular 4.5 meters for rural residential. I should note that the 3 meter is consistent with the Lakeshore residential zone, which with the property to the south, which has water frontage, which will remain Lakeshore residential exception 602. that exception zone recognizes a reduced lot frontage of 30 meters. Because it'll be accessed by Settlers Trail. With regard to comments from public agencies, we've received comments of no concern from Peterborough Public, the County of Peterborough Public Works Department, the Peterborough Public Health, and as well as the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority. As you'll see in my report, I do find that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, conforms to the growth plan as well as the county official plan. And I do recommend the application for approval. The one note of issue with this particular application that's a little bit different from when the report was submitted. We were waiting for some comments regarding the neighboring property at which is a Pioneer cemetery owned by the Catholic Church, St. Martin's. Staff are waiting for some better comments to be reassured that whether the church was confident in the location of the plot locations on that property. We have yet to receive any such comments. However, yesterday a staff member from the cemetery board came in to speak to me, and his comments, oral comments to me, indicated that because of the age of the cemetery, they are obviously not subject to modern day standards in regarding record keeping for plot locations or marking those locations. So with keeping that in mind, just staff are concerned that we may have some unintentional consequences to building on the neighboring property. Therefore, we're recommending a holding zone provision be put on the rural residential exception 603 zone, which is the property, the vacant property that's being created through this consent. And that holding zone is conditional, the removal of it is conditional on an archaeological assessment. Again, I'm recommending the approval of the zoning amendment conditional on the holding zone provision. And those are my comments on this application.
Thank you very much. And I understand that there's someone online. If you can please identify yourself, and are you in favor of this application?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Molly Conlon. I'm the agent on this project. I'm for it, obviously, and I'm just here for any questions. I think Per explained everything, but if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. And Deputy Clerk, was anyone registered to speak against this application?
We have no one else here for this application, for or against, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to council. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Blatt.
Just one question through you, Mayor Senes. So Peterborough County supported the consent for the property. On what basis would they provide support for? I'm more interested. I don't disagree with the consent, but what was their opinion on it?
So through your worship, there's just so Peterborough County Public Works has provided comments of no concern, obviously, because there is no jurisdictional matter. In this case, there's no county road fronting the property, so they're obviously just providing comment that not in their jurisdiction, so no concern. Right?
No concern.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through your Mayor Senes. I have no way of opposed to this at all. I do have a question though, because it's come up a couple times. Once with Water Street and the development of it in Lakefield, and now again with this property. Do we have access to ground penetrating radar? It seems to be more readily available. Would that not make these situations easier to go out and explore these properties, or is that something that we pass on to someone else?
Sorry, not quite understanding the question. Like, are you saying in regard to the archaeological assessment?
Yes.
Requirement? So I'm not sure LiDAR would pick up on archaeological artifacts. They're more to do with topography, right?
They are frequently being used with the residential school unmarked graves that are being explored. That's why I mentioned it, just because we have a cemetery in question here.
So through I'm not aware of LiDAR being the LiDAR mapping that we have being used in that context. I'd have to touch base with the county to see if it would even reveal that type of information. I don't know.
I have a staff comment here. Janice, were you
Sure,
going
and
to
Ann
speak?
can add if I
Sure.
miss anything, but really, we don't have anything to do with the archaeological review. You have to be a licensed archaeologist to undertake that review. And they have their own procedures and processes that they have to follow. It's fairly stringent. I'm not familiar with all the types of equipment that they have at their disposal, but really that process is governed by the archaeological process. You're welcome.
And I don't see any other questions. So we do have a amended recommendation, and that includes having a holding policy. So I'm looking to someone to move that recommendation. Councillor Koulis and Councillor Henry seconding. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. All right. We are now moving on to another fun topic, the radio communications facility siting review process. Janice.
Okay, thank you very much. As I think everybody's aware, the siting of radio communication facilities is federally regulated. So they don't have to comply with provincial or municipal legislation, Planning Act, the Township Official Plan, zoning bylaw. However, as part of the industry protocol, proponents are required to consult with municipalities in terms of trying to make sure that the siting of the actual facility is as good as it can be, essentially. So although we don't have any authority over the approval, we do have some commenting ability throughout the process. Several years ago, I think it was actually in 2016, the township engaged CRINS, which is the Canadian Radio Communications Information and Notification System, to act as our agent to accept applications and undertake the consultation process that's required, and then to ultimately prepare what's called a land use authority report that would come before council that would either provide a statement of concurrence or non-concurrence with the application. So we've had that in place for quite a number of years. I'd say the experience we had with CRINS at the outset was positive, and I think the applications were processed fairly efficiently. However, in more recent times that has changed, and we have heard a lot from proponents about the challenges they've been having just getting their applications processed in a timely manner. Currently, we have 2 applications in the queue, which basically our understanding is they're at their 120-day process timeline, and we don't believe that anything has been completed. Despite the assurances from CRINS staff in June at a meeting that Robert and I had with them, that they would ensure that these applications proceeded through the process efficiently. That just hasn't happened, and repeated attempts to reach out and get in touch with them, we just haven't heard anything back. So I think at this point, as you'll see in the report, I'm going to recommend that we advise CRINS that we no longer want to use their services. We aren't the only municipality in this boat. There's been a few municipalities recently who have chosen not to use CRINS any further. So if we were to approve this recommendation, then we would have to consider 2 other options for consideration moving forward. So there is a default process that Industry Canada has in place. So we could decide to use that process on a go forward basis, or we could develop our own Selwyn radio communications facility siting protocol. I will say that prior to using CRINS, we did have our own protocol in place. We did have some very challenging applications at the time, though, and I think that's where the partnership with CRINS did work, because it kind of removed some of that difficulty from our arena, as they were the experts who were dealing with the feedback we were getting. So I think, and the ISED does recommend that we have our own protocol. So I do believe that that's the way we should go in going forward. However, in the meantime, we do have these 2 applications that are basically stuck. And I think as we're developing our protocol, our best course of action would be to use the default protocol through Industry Canada to process those applications, get them through that process as quickly as possible. In the meantime, we'll go away, develop our policy, and bring that back for council's consideration. So I did provide just a little bit of information about that default procedure in here for you, and I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you have.
Okay, before I turn it over to council, where are the two locations that we're dealing with right now?
So the one application is the tower that is proposed to be on the township property at the sewage lagoons, and the other location is on Eden Dairy Line in Ennismore.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, you're correct. Using Prince took the politics out of it, if you will. Now we're going to have to bring it back in. So are there any questions or comments with regards to this recommendation and this report? Seeing none, I'm looking, Councillor Coolidge.
Through you, just a clarification question, where on Eden Dairy Line? Like I didn't see it in the report. I must have looked over it.
It isn't in the report. I don't know the number, but Robert, perhaps you have that.
It's through you, Mayor. It's 600 Eden Dairy Line. It's a very large agricultural parcel.
Which side of Terra Road is it on? Is it on the west side going to Pigeon or is it on the east?
It's on the east.
It's on the east. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, regardless of where the location is, we have to determine what we're going to do from now on. So yes, yes, it is. That's why I asked the question. So I need someone to move the recommendation that's in front of us. Councillor Henry, Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. We are moving on to our consent items. Is there anything that anyone wishes pulled?
Your sense, I would like to pull from the Peterborough County report, the first report, the report from Carrie Snodgrass regarding waste management.
Carrie Snoddy.
Snoddy, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? So if we can have someone move the everything else that's in the report, and then we'll come back to the one that's been pulled. Councillor Henry, Councillor Coolidge is seconding, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. And Councillor Boyko.
Thank you, Mercedes. I'm afraid to get too close now. I have two questions coming out of this report. I understand the nature of the report and what is happening with it. It's interesting that they call a pilot in Bridgenorth that began in 2006 still a pilot. I think that's interesting. Two questions that come from this. One is with respect to the food cycler pilot, and we were part of that. And we talked earlier, a couple of months ago, about possibly bringing back more because it's very popular and more people who want to get it would like to get one. Is there any word about the possibility of bringing back another wave of those to make available for our citizens?
That will be a consideration for council when you're considering the capital budget.
It'll come up then.
Correct.
Yeah, I do believe that we had asked that some money be put aside for another round of that for this coming budget. Correct?
Right.
It's been raised by council that you want it to come forward. So council will have to approve the capital budget, but yeah, we don't have approval for it, but it will be included in the budget and you guys can decide whether to keep it or not in November.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you. The second question that comes from this through you, Mayor Senes, is with respect to the Blue Box. The Blue Box program we discussed at great length again a number of months ago, and the deadline is quickly approaching. Is there any update on what is happening with the transition of the Blue Box to the new ways in which the Blue Box program will work?
Janice?
Sure. So we did get confirmation just last week that, well, as you know, first off, as you know, the county opted out. So the county will no longer be involved in the curbside collection for recyclables. We did get confirmation just last week that Terra will in fact be continuing to be the contractor for the purposes of the curbside collection and for the purposes of any depots that municipalities enter into agreements with CMO for. The other item of note there is that they have agreed to include the non-eligible sources. So essentially your businesses, your institutional, your churches, schools, those they will continue to collect those locations as part of their service. The county will just have to pay for that.
I see. So if I could have one more follow-up, Mayor Senes, through you, will it, if this happens, as you're saying, and hopefully it will the people of Selwyn notice any difference in the service, or will we notice any difference in the budgetary impact of the change?
So for the curbside collection, there won't be any budgetary impact for the township because the township, it's other than through the county levy, our ratepayers pay for it through the county levy. In terms of what that customer service will look like, I don't know what that's going to look like. Through the transition, there will be information going out to the public. We'll be working with the county, we'll be working with CMO to make sure people understand who it is that they need to contact if they have issues. Hopefully the customer service level is fairly high, but again, there's going to have to be some experience before we can actually speak to that.
Yeah, I guess the real question is, will the same materials be able to be picked up?
Yes, that's the intention, that the collection would be the same.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to add to that, because I'm on the waste management committee at the county, they are the first producers who are going to be in charge of this will be looking at what is put in the recycling. And if things go in there that shouldn't, we will get charged. So it's going to mean that we have to be careful that we put the right things in the recycling, and what else doesn't go there goes into the garbage. Yeah, they're not giving us a very big percentage. I think it's 4%. Yeah, and right now I think we're higher than that where people are putting things in recycling that shouldn't, or putting things in garbage that should go in recycling. So yeah.
So if I could, Mayor Senes, I guess this means that it's going to be an education program for us to let people know. That'll be something that we will need to undertake.
Yeah. The other thing that I can say is there are municipalities, this is something that's province-wide. So it's not that we're doing something different. Everybody's going to be subject to this. There are municipalities that have signed their contracts for July 1st past, and they're not seeing a big difference. So things are going smoothly, fingers crossed.
And ours is January?
Yes. Did you have something? Okay. Yeah, probably wise. Okay, thank you very much. So I need someone to move the Peterborough County report that was pulled. Councillor Boyko, and seconded by Councillor Koulis. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to other new and unfinished business. Is there anything that anyone wants to bring forward? Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Senes. On behalf of council and Selwyn Township staff, I'd like to welcome Tasso's Pizzeria for opening up their new location at Fowler's Corners, and we wish you all the success that you deserve. And second point would be, on behalf of council and Selwyn Township staff, I would like to congratulate and personally thank Tanya Bailey and her team at the Cheesy Fromage for their recent Wagoween event in Lakefield. The event saw attendees and their dogs, goats, and chickens dressed up for a pet-friendly Halloween that raised funds for the Lakefield Animal Welfare Society. This annual event is very inclusive as it actually brings together over 30 merchants within the village of Lakefield and attracting visitors to our area from Cobourg, Oshawa, Whitby, and Bob Cajun. So yes, a big shout out to them and thank you.
Actually, there were a lot of people downtown Lakefield that day with all kinds of animals. It was surprising how many people it brought into the village. So good for them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. We have under this other new and unfinished business, the Roma delegation requests. At this time, there's no deadline, but you might want to think about what you feel we should bring forward to the Roma conference. There are 4 of us that are attending, and we'll bring it back to a future date on the agenda to get those things. And I'd now like to, before we go into close, pass the bylaws 2023-074, the zoning bylaw for 899 Settlers Trail. 2023-075, rescind the bylaw 2016-058 for CRIMS. Can I have someone move those two? Council, Deputy Mayor Black, Councillor Henry, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And I need a motion to go into closed to talk about a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. So Councillor Henry, moved by, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor? Thank you. We'll retire to the other room.